connect up to 80 loudspeakers if you want.
Really?
So you can go crazy if you
That'd
want.
be a nice Christmas gift.
That's very nice. It's like a Christmas tree full of speakers.
I had to actually open up a Genelec speaker once.
Did you?
And it was my fault because I put the speaker in a box while I was moving, and the Phoenix connector that came with the speaker in the box in transport, whatever, found its way inside the bass reflex spoiler.
Yeah, you'll
Long
find it
story.
at the magnet then.
Correct. So I had to open it up and I had to shake it. And I have to say, testament to Genelec, very easy to disassemble and put back together, even with the seal and everything. It would happen to me.
Don't do this at home.
Yeah, exactly. Don't
listen.
do that at home. Don't do that.
Don't do that at home.
Don't open a Genelec speaker.
No.
Thank you so much for joining us on our podcast, Behind the Rack and in studio. I think it's your first time in Montreal.
It's my first time in Montreal. It's my first time in Canada. So
That's
very happy
amazing.
to be here. Thank you.
Welcome.
We've got a really cool episode, and you're in town for a specific reason too, as well. You're doing the Genelec World Tour on immersive sound. We're setting up right now as we're filming this episode. There's a training tomorrow in Montreal. Hugo and I were getting it set up, and it's very exciting. Got so much to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, first, thanks for coming on the show. I've been working with your technology even before joining SFM. I know your monitors as being pretty much standard in every OB truck, actually in North America, I would say. I love the fact that your speakers can be basically installed anywhere. Because there's so many type of brackets for it. You can install them on the ceiling, you can install them on the ground, on the walls. I mean, I've been using your technology for years. I've seen it evolving. Can you talk a little bit about the intention behind your products, behind the how can I put it? Maybe not only the intention, but the philosophy behind Genelec. I perceive them as like engineering speakers, but there's probably something behind it. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. So the main goal when we build a speaker is to build a speaker. It's not following a trend. And I think that's also a core kind of principle of how Genelec and also the R&D works. We want to make good speakers because we see a need for a good speaker on a monitoring system in an environment, what have you. But it's not about, there's a trend that we need to pick up. So that's a very big difference for us. And depending on the complexity of the product, this kind of R&D cycles can take even decades, before we come out with technologies. For instance, coaxial drivers has been a development that took way longer than many people just see with a product that came to market. We have a clear purpose, obviously, to create the most truthful reproduction system to people to rely on. Because we know that all our customers, no matter if it's in studio, if it's in broadcast, music, post, but also in install sound environments, as you know, we can also put a speaker in a conference room or even in a restaurant or a cafe. We want everybody to have the most neutral and best reproduction system possible that we then basically adapt to the environment. And one thing with the products is very important. They need to be adaptive, so to speak, so we can calibrate them to the certain environments where they're placed. But that's basically the logic behind. And it also happened that our R&D department came up with speakers and presented it to the sales team. And then we were like, okay, what are we doing with that? So, and then they explain it, and then it totally makes sense, So the product is the star. So that's something that counts for Genelec and the whole development behind the curtains.
You mentioned neutral, and for our audience out there, what does that mean for you guys, and why is that so important?
So neutral, I would define in having a speaker or monitoring loudspeaker that is factory calibrated to be very flat on the frequency response. And that usually works, and many other loudspeaker manufacturers do that as well. Our speakers get final calibrated in an anechoic chamber, so a dead room in our factory in Finland.
All of them?
Every single one. from the 8010, the smallest one, to the biggest 1236, all of them. We check them all. We do multiple testings with them on the production line. It's actually, when you see this, it's an incredible process and an incredible complex process. But we want to make sure that every speaker that is leaving our factory is first of all working and has the best acoustic performance that we designed it for. Now, but the moment you take a speaker that has been designed to be neutral into any environment, being as a recording studio, you can throw millions of dollars into room treatment and room acoustic, which is definitely needed. But every speaker is reacting to the room, and we need to adapt this. So that's why we talk about calibration. And a calibrated monitoring loudspeaker, that's what I would call a neutral reproduction system. Mm-hmm. Neutral in that way that when an engineer, a professional engineer, but also a consumer at home, when he listens to the quality of the sound of the loudspeakers, that he knows, okay, what I hear is actually what's been meant to be, and that I don't get too much unwanted influences from environments that I might not be able to treat or might not able to have under control. So that's what we mean with neutral. And then you can always tune it to your taste, because taste is also very important, especially in music production. Also genre-wise, electronic music guys, they have to tend to have a bit more bass here and there.
Yeah.
Is it still neutral? Well, on the frequency level, maybe not, but it adds the emotional factor into it. So that's how I would put it.
And I think you used a really important word, and you said truthful before, and I picked up on it because it's truthful for the application that the product is being used in. And to your point, if it's starting off at a really good base, and no matter what application or whoever is using it, we all know sound is extremely subjective, then you can calibrate or tune it to exactly your purpose. And I think that's the most important part. And I think that's why Genelecs have such a good reputation, is because the second it comes out of the box, everyone has the exact same response. Wow, I'm hearing things I never heard before. And it's because of the calibration coming from the factory and how neutral, we'll use that word, or truthful that speaker actually is. So I think it's a testament to the brand. And to your point as well, I think seeing the various types of applications, we were talking about some Swedish producers before, coming from the house and music scene all the way to a post truck, right? These are applications that are extremely different, but that the same brand is being utilized for. And that's a testament to how it's being engineered and how it's being produced at the final stages so that it can be applied to anybody in any situation.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Truthful. I like that word.
Truthful.
Yeah.
Laying the groundwork, and at least out of the box, you've got a baseline.
True.
Which is that you can trust.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about trust.
That's right.
Because whoever is working in sound, music, post-broadcast, they have to rely on something that they hear, that this is going to translate to other environments. Somebody's going to listen to the music in the car, on a soundbar system, on headphones, on a boombox. So, and when you know that it has been mixed on a calibrated Genelec system, so you know, okay, we're safe. Yeah. I mean, we cannot cater for a room acoustic treatment in every living room,
Correct.
but we know that whatever we send there is accurate.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
You did touch on Coaxial a little bit before. For the benefit of our audience, can you explain what is Coaxial for Genelec? Obviously, you're probably talking about the ones. So I'd like our audience to hear a little bit more about this series of speaker, which is, I wouldn't say brand new, but quite new, your newer series, and explain the technology behind it. Like, what is Coaxial?
So the principle of a coaxial monitor speaker design is nothing new. It's been around for decades already, and many other brands have tried it on their own way.
Yeah, like Tannoy, for example.
Tannoy, and then some German brands, Geithain, were doing this, and so on. So coaxial by default means that all drivers of a monitoring loudspeaker are sitting on the same acoustical axis, so on the same point. That's why coaxial speakers are also sometimes referred to be point source monitors, because all drivers, bass driver, mid-range, and tweeter, are sitting on the same acoustical axis. Now, what we have done is we came out with a product in 2008. That was the first coaxial driver. It was the 8260, which had a 10-inch bass driver and a mid-range high tweeter coaxial device. And but our kind of development dates much earlier, looking into coaxial design, because we know that that's the best principle you can do, the best system you can build when you do loudspeakers is coaxial. One thing we have to make people understand what the benefit of coaxial drivers is. You never sit still in a chair while mixing. We're not at the dentist, where we kind of are blocked with our head and then it's okay, now I get like all the correct mixture of all three drivers. No, we move. We move on a console, we move in the room, we walk around, we're on the phone. Creative processes in the studio is not tied to my chair, it's actually to the environment in the room. So every time when I move, the relative position of my ear to those three drivers is changing. I don't hear it instantly, but psychoacoustically, it is kind of a lot of brain work, because our brain is trying to rebalance these differences all the time when I have different distances to each driver. So this you can get rid of when you use coaxial drivers, because your relative position of the ear to the drivers is always the same, no matter where you are. So that is a good thing. So it's definitely less fatigue. This is also a good argument for people to work with coaxial speakers, especially when you have long working shifts, and people in broadcast and music know that. 8, 10, 12 hours. It's kind of a regular shift these days, unfortunately. And it's putting a lot of load in our ear system, and also it's a lot of brain work. But coming back to the technology in Genelec, so in 2008, we came out with the 8260. That was the first coaxial driver. And in 2015, we introduced the first model of what we call the Ones series. It was the 8351A at that time, which was a pure, true three-way coaxial speaker. And what makes us different to other coaxial speaker manufacturers is that our drivers are built needless. So we don't have a gapless. So from the tweeter into the mid-range, from the mid-range into the bass driver, there's no kind of element that is hiding a driver. Because back in the days, there are some coaxial drivers where you had a woofer, and then in front of the woofer, you had a mid-range, and in front of the mid-range, you had a tweeter. So you had kind of your shadowing elements of that thing. Not saying that it's a bad thing, but it's causing some acoustic thing. So something's happening. And we try to avoid this by building the One series to have them set up gapless, all these drivers. And 2015 came the first model. And at that time, latest at when the smaller members, the 8341 and 31 came in, I was very happy that the marketing department decided to give a name for that series, calling the Ones, because it's the one at the end of our product code. Because people who know Genelec, we love numbers. Yeah. And this is something
letters.
We even have that problem also sometimes internally, that we try to mix and say, oh yeah, it was a different number. There's a clear logic behind that, but there's also a very big part of exceptions. So actually on the Genelec website, there's a very beautiful PDF explaining this numbering. So why is it called 8340, for example? A, P, M. It's not only numbers, it's also letters. So we throw everything that we have into the product code, and hopefully...
We might just put that link in the YouTube, because I would be very happy to see it.
I can train you, but this is very important to understand. And with the 8341 and 31, the smaller members, we introduced them in 2017, and in 2019 we basically completed that range with the 61, and we made a 51B. B stands for the basically second revision, because we changed the amplifier design and the coaxial design. And one thing that's also part of the One series is the woofer stand, which has probably the most logical name, because it's W371. So anyways, that's maybe you can put a link in there to that whole line, and then people can see it. But that's basically when the line kind of found its
I remember I was working at a reseller, and we basically got from SFM the first gen, like the 51A. And I did put them aside, like some other very high-end monitors that and I'm going to name drop. I did put them aside, some S3As from Adam, which are like pretty nice speakers too. And I was completely blown away by your system. Everything was there. Like, as you truthful. That's the word.
Truthful.
Yeah.
It's his word. Don't look at me. It's his word.
Well, it's a Genelec word, so we can all keep.
Okay, we can all use it.
And the question that everybody has, including me, is we see these speakers standing up or being on the side like this, horizontal or vertical. That's a neat thing from your speakers, being able to put them like in both position. But why would I want them vertical, or why would I want them horizontal? What's the plus or the minus of?
No, that comes back to the plus of the coaxial design, because the directivity and the dispersion of the loudspeaker in horizontal and vertical is the same. So imagine you have a multi-channel studio, let's 5.1, 7.1, Atmos, what have you, and you have a big screen in the middle. I mean, where do you put the center loudspeaker here? It would always be an issue. So either you see a lot of installations where the speaker is above the screen and then angled down.
Right.
You can do that, but it's not ideal, so to speak. But in this case, you just kind of put it on the horizontal plane and just stick it underneath the TV, for instance, or something like that. And you can also mix and match. So you can have left and right standing up and the center being laid down. There's no acoustical problem or differences. So we see that a lot. And then it is for ergonomic reason. I mean, wherever you have space, and I mean, you mentioned OB vans in the beginning. I mean, OB vans by default are very kind of restricted in space. You know, this is, I mean,
a compromise. Like
it's
the
a compromise. Everything from the door, you know, to the only thing that works is basically the steering wheel. That's you can't kind of discuss this, but everything else is under discussion. And where space is very limited and ergonomics are very kind of short, or you do not have much space, this kind of principle of loudspeaker design, especially in the smallest footprint, the 8331, is, I mean, it's a gift for that. And if I'm still correct, it's still the smallest three-way loudspeaker on the market at the moment. So, and it was kind of a revolution for OB vans to have three-way monitors in such small space. So, and for them, it's actually good that you can put it wherever you want and don't look for the orientation, you know? Oh, there's a little bit of space, stick a speaker. It's going to be that way. It doesn't matter, but just put it. So
there's no difference having it horizontal or vertical. Okay, that's very good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much today.
That's a very good tie-in. I mean, from the ones to basically multi-channel or immersive. I suspect that the more speakers you had, the more that coaxial is important, because you multiply the source by like sometimes 9.6.1. So I suspect that having these kind of coaxial speaker really helps for the whole image plane or image of let's call it immersive imaging of a multi-channel feed, right?
Definitely. And but one thing we also have to be clear, the coaxial design of the ones is not made for a long throw, you know? So 31, 41, 51, we would recommend maximum 2.5 to 3 meter of listening distance to be kind of, because it has a very like wide sweet spot. It's not very narrow like other systems, you know, that can be very sharp on 10, 15, 20 meters. But the 8361, so the biggest family member, we can recommend that easily to up to 5 meters of direct throw, of directivity. And then you touched the point very nicely, because for all the channels in the surround, on the ear height, but also on the top layer and the ceiling layer, because of the fact that the ones have a very wide sweet spot, we can build a very nice dome at the end of the day, due to the directivity and the dispersion of the sound. Because, I mean, you can use any speaker from Genelec to do that, but with the ones, you get a much higher resolution, so to speak. And especially in surround applications, it's a big difference, a very big audible difference. Yes, it's also a budget difference, I understand, but the audible difference is incredible.
Understand.
And what is that audible difference for an audience member who, let's say, may or may not have that budget? What is that auditory difference that they should be expecting?
It's a general difference between a two-way loudspeaker and a three-way loudspeaker.
Okay.
So I mean, just by adding a discrete mid-range driver with an own amplification gives you a bit more resolution, especially in that frequency range. Not saying that two-way speakers are bad, not at all.
No.
But the moment you load a bit more kind of energy in that frequency band, you'll hear a clear difference between two-way and three-way loudspeakers.
Yeah.
But the technology of Genelec allows us, because all our product lines, except the classics, so the 8000 series, I keep them out now, can be calibrated. So it doesn't matter if you mix and match also certain models. But also down to budget. So if you think, okay, I do a lot of stereo work and sometimes immersive, then I would recommend go for the ones on the left, center, and right channel and do a two-way system for the rest of the room, just to kind of complement that. Being able to kind of also juggle with a budget. If budget is a bit higher, then you can say, okay, everything on ear height, I'll go with the ones and have the top ceiling layer as a two-way. That's how I have it in my own studio, for instance. And so it's very nice, because we have a lot of kind of screws to tweak, as we say, and it's like all kind of different elements of a puzzle to really make a good monitoring system depending on the structure.
Yeah.
And Eric, when you say calibration, what does that look like? Like, what is, I'm a new Genelec user and I've purchased myself a nice Christmas gift and I bought myself some ones. That didn't happen, but we did, hopefully. What does the calibration process look like? Is it easy? How does it work?
It is actually. So the thing is, first of all, every speaker of Genelec that starts with the numbers 83 something, 83, 20, 30, 40, 50, 61, 80, 81, the big ones, have built-in DSPs.
Okay.
So digital signal processing is built into every loudspeaker, which is capable of filtering the speaker. We have 20 filters per loudspeaker available. There is then a network that we put up to communicate with a software on the computer called GLM, the Genelec Loudspeaker Manager, and we then communicate with all the DSPs of the loudspeakers. So either you're using a GLM kit, which is a USB device, which is connected USB to the computer, and from there we're running a daisy chain Ethernet line going through all the speakers. And you can literally connect up to 80 loudspeakers if you want.
Really?
So you can go crazy. If
That'd be a nice Christmas gift.
That's very nice. It's like a Christmas tree full of speakers. So the GLM kit is like the entry-level product, and it also comes with an own calibration microphone.
Okay.
That is matched with basically the calibration mic there's a serial number on it, and it's matched with the box that you have.
Wow.
I mean, you can swap it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in enterprises where they have multiple GLM kits, and because the thing is, the microphones we build on our own as well in Finland, and we know the frequency range of that microphone, and we connect that to the serial number. So during the calibration process, we first check the serial number to make sure that we understand which microphone is connected.
You really take that seriously, man.
That's incredible.
Then the calibration process couldn't be easier, because we just hit calibrate, and what happens then is that every loudspeaker is playing a sweep. Weep. We know that. We heard that also from other systems. But what's very important with us is that the sweep is generated in the loudspeaker. So you don't need a signal generator somewhere in your studio or in your signal chain. So you don't have to have an audio connection to your loudspeaker.
No sound card, no.
No, you don't need that.
Right.
And now imagine you're in the process of building a studio and trying to figure out what's the best placement for my loudspeakers. You don't need anything than just a laptop, the GLM kit, and one speaker. And you run it. Because then you get a clear picture of the frequency range of your loudspeaker, uncalibrated, and you know what the system would apply in terms of filtering. So this is an automatic process. We call this autocal. And this is happening actually in the cloud. So every speaker is playing a sweep. The microphone is recording that sweep and is sending that to our Genelec cloud in Finland. There we analyze basically the frequency response. We set the filters and send them back into the loudspeaker or into your computer, which is communicating with the loudspeaker. So the goal is to give you a very truthful, neutral frequency response of a loudspeaker, knowing that we might have issues in the room. And these will be visible because in GLM, we can instantly see the graphs of the loudspeaker instantly. So the impulse response, like the frequency response, uncalibrated, we see the filter set and we see the result in colors. So red is the frequency response uncalibrated, blue is the filters, which are usually kind of inverted, to reduce energy that is too high. And then the green will be the result. But in calibration, what we also do is not only the frequency response. This is probably the most crucial one. But what we also do, especially when it becomes immersive, and we're going to touch base on that later, is delay, because every speaker has a different position, a distance to the listening position, and volume compensation. As I said, we could use the ones monitors in the front, and then small two-ways in the rest of the room.
Right.
So they all have a different system volume and they are all placed on different directions. And we do a volume calibration that we make sure that every speaker is reaching the listening position at the same volume and at the same time. Plus, as flat as possible. But this has so many influences, room design things. But when that is the case, then the spatial image works. Because we're not distracted by, that speaker is a bit louder, so our kind of focus is going that way or going this way, or this one's too close and it's too early. So everything that is immersive needs to be calibrated with these three topics. And in stereo, you can work with frequency calibration alone, should be enough, because there should not be any volume difference or delay difference.
Right.
So, but that's basically how it works.
And then that calibration is... just so that I understand, I don't have a lot of experience in production. That calibration file or setup, if you want to call it, is then sent to the speaker individually, correct?
There's two ways you can. I'm going to interject here, but you can have it in the software that runs on your computer, or if you don't plan to have GLM running on your computer and you will basically run it with your own monitoring, you can put all the curves in the speakers themselves and disconnect the GLM software.
That was my point. You don't necessarily need to have the software running at all time.
Correct.
Because depending on your monitoring system or your production process, it could be stored locally either in the speakers, or if you're renting out the studio, for example, and you want one calibration for that room and you have different people coming in, you can save it to the speakers or you run it through GLM.
Exactly.
Very cool.
But especially think of like educational facilities, schools, stuff like this. You don't want every student to be kind of the calibration DJ, so to speak, So I would recommend you store it into the loudspeaker, you disconnect everything, and then they come with various playback systems. Because one thing is very important to understand with the GLM calibration. Because the calibration and the filtering is happening in the loudspeaker, which is the last bit of my signal chain, I can do whatever playback system I want, and I will always reach a calibrated system. So today, I might have the studio booked to somebody who's using my studio computer, so to speak, easy. The next day, somebody coming in with a laptop. No problem. You connect, but you run on a calibrated speaker via Dante or what have you. Next day, somebody's coming with a phone and streaming on AirPlay into my monitoring system. You reach calibrated loudspeakers. There's no need to go through a box or a software or something, a plugin to turn on and off, depending on that. So I think that is a very important topic. Because what we want is, or what we don't want is actually load the engineer with even more stuff to think about. Mm-hmm. They have plenty to do.
Of course.
Console, recording machine, recording, sound design, what have you. So the monitoring is the last thing we want them to think about. Am I in the right state? Do I have the right preset? Do I have this? Do I have that? No. Store it in the loudspeaker if you want, set and forget, and then your Truthful sound reproduction system is ready for you.
Very cool.
Yeah. And the neat thing is that you can also, if ever you feel, because I have a colleague who felt that there was not enough bass after calibration, so we ended up just boosting a little bit the low mids because he wanted more bass, but it's still open to you if you want to mess around with it. I'm not recommending it unless you know what you're doing, but you have access to this curve in the software if you want to modify.
You really want to fine tune and really make it. Okay, very cool. Okay.
But that's actually a very good point, because when you have the GLM software connected to your loudspeakers all the time, we can actually store what we call groups in the software, which could be like calibration presets. And we can create up to 10 of these groups. So you could say, I want to have at the listening position, at the main engineer position, a very flat situation. Okay, no problem. I do group number 1. Now,
The producer.
one thing is, in every studio, you have a producer couch in the rear where they work or sleep or what have you, eat, chill,
Make phone calls.
phone call, exactly. But these poor people are always sitting in the bad bass wave because all the energy is loaded at the rear wall.
Right.
So you put the microphone there, do a calibration in that spot, and save it as, I say, couch preset. And then you just switch instantly between the calibration presets as you go. I mean,
Very cool.
people in studios understand that, that every time when you get a comment from the rear couch, say, oh, it's a bit too boomy. So they come here where I sit, listen here. And, and then nobody wants to come and say, okay, that's fine. Now you just flip a switch, switch to a button and then you're happy? Okay, cool. Switch back to your mixer engine, mixer spot, and then you continue. Or last example, and there's tons of examples, but last one I would say, in a music recording environment, you have, I don't know, a keyboard player coming in and you have your synth on the left side wall or something. So whenever he's playing the synth, he's never in the sweet spot, this poor keyboard player. So what you could do is put the microphone there. At least it's kind of getting the frequency response correct for a spot that is not in the sweet spot and gives him the confidence, okay, what I'm playing, I can really judge what I hear, knowing that it's not the sweet spot,
right?
And these kind of things. So you can fiddle around very creatively. And this is actually a big sales tool for us because a lot of people really embrace this. Oh, wow, that's a feature. I didn't know we can do that. Because normally when you think about calibrating a loudspeaker, it's okay, I have to have a complex system and then store it and then don't touch.
Yeah.
No, you could if you want. But as I said, for some, it is better to store it into the loudspeaker and set and forget. But for others who are in a creative work environment, it is actually good to have it connected and use it in your workflow.
Very interesting.
Yep. And what he was saying about the JLM kit that ties in with this box that's on the table here, the 9320. This is also a GLM kit with much more features.
Correct.
Including the fact that, and I'd like you to talk about it a little bit, the fact that you can mimic, I don't know if mimic's the right word, but you can listen to an Atmos mix in those headphones if they're connected to your 9320. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes, you can. But first of all, the 9320 is actually a full-blown monitor controller.
True.
And
USB-C.
And a GLM remote control, so to speak, a controller also for the GLM software. We didn't have it back in the day, so everything that you wanted to do, switching the groups, for instance, your calibration groups, we have now dedicated buttons on that, on the bottom right, which are called group 1 to 4.
Yeah.
We have 4 buttons, but you can have 10 in the system and you can arrange it. But that system is also a stereo interface. Actually, we call it outerface because there's no input back to the computer. So all the inputs on that box are only available in the monitoring system. So I can make a source audible, but I cannot feed let's say a microphone back to my computer to recording. That's not an interface. So that's why we thought it's an outerface. Anyway, long story short, when you want to hear your immersive mix on headphones, before you can connect your headphone here, we have to do something that we call a binauralization, because there's no point in just listening to the left and right channel of an immersive mix. You can do that because headphones are stereo. And the headphone amplifier on that box is actually of very high quality, so that sounds very, very good. But before that, before you can make an immersive mix audible on headphones, you have to binauralize it. There are multiple tools available on the market to do that. There's an own one from Dolby in the Dolby renderer and what have you. But Genelec wouldn't be Genelec if we not also have a binauralization available as of like two weeks ago. We actually launched it in a new version 2.1, sorry. We call it Aural ID. This has been around for a couple of years. And I would call it has been a proof of concept, but now the concept is proven. That's why we come up with a version 2.1 now. And Aural ID is a very interesting technology because binaural, just to make understand what binaural means, binaural is basically a virtualized down mix of an immersive sound track, which could be a 7.1.4 Atmos mix or bigger, but we have to make it work on just 2 channels for headphone that your brain thinks, oh, there's a sound in front of me, there's a sound behind me, above me. Left and right is easy because we have the ear cups left and right. But every other location and direction is kind of very difficult to transport through a headphone system. So that's why a binauralization is happening before it. It takes the immersive mix into the system and is then helping to transcode it into 2 channels with filtering, delay, and very different processes. So your brain actually thinks something's happening from the left, from the right, from front, from rear. Now, our hearing system is something very, very personal because we all 4 here have very different shapes of ear, of head, of neck, of chin, of everything, of shoulders, which is very crucial for human hearing to better interpret and understand where does sound actually come from. We're so used to it because our ears are trained to surround sound, but now listening on headphones, it's very different. So that's why there's a process between the mix on speakers and the reproduction on headphones that we have to implement is something that we call HRTFs. Mm-hmm. And HRTF stands for Head-Related Transfer Function. It is basically a mathematical process of describing how a human is hearing 3D sound. And in order to do that, we have to capture a couple of
pictures, I suspect.
Pictures and videos and many different things just to understand what is actually the head shape. Mm-hmm. And with Genelec and the Aural ID technology, we have a little iPhone and Android app that you can use, and somebody needs to film you with a distance of 1.5 meters around you, very small, and the app is actually guiding you very nicely. So do this, do that, put out the lights, go close to the ear. And we're filming the ear very nicely and very, very kind of deeply, so to understand every little bone and knuckle of the ear, because that is how we hear sound, and it's very, very different from person to person.
Wow.
And we also provide 2 photos, 2 pictures with a scale, so we know how large is your ear. And then we build a 3D model of your upper torso. Wow. In a computer system. And this 3D model is then getting kind of, I don't know the right English word.
Virtualized?
No, but yeah, well, it is virtualized, but then we are putting up 836 locations around that 3D model and are sending basically sound to it. You have to understand the way how HRTFs have been created back in the days is people were sitting super still on a chair with microphones in the ear, and then you had a big ring around you on speakers that was actually moving and all the time sweeping around you, because what our hearing is kind of expecting is direction sound from all kind of locations around you. And this is what we try with a 3D render of the picture of the upper torso of the person, of the listener, and are presenting 836 sound sources around it. And all these recordings and all this mathematical voodoo, it's not voodoo, but just to kind of make a long story short, magic is a good word, yeah. Complex magic, truthful complex magic, it's actually been then presented into a little file, and this is what we call a SOFA file. And the SOFA file has basically all the information about this person's hearing system, so to speak, and localization capabilities, and we ingest this into the playback system. Wow. So now just to come back to the beginning, we have an Atmos mix coming into the system. It gets binauralized. We have the SOFA file sitting there, which is our own HRTF. And that's the binaural version we then get presented on headphones.
Wow.
It's kind of a complex thing. So I try to make it short. But if you're interested, maybe we can link it in the podcast to the Aural ID page.
Is this whole process like comes free when you buy this, or there's a price to the Aural ID?
Yeah,
and again, that's okay if there's a price.
There is a little price,
because it seems to be a very complex process.
It is. But we have various models. We have it as a subscription, so if you just want to try it out. But we also have it as a perpetual license. I think unfortunately, it's only on the web shop. It's not over the distribution channels, obviously.
Fair enough.
But that's fine. I mean, this is still enough value as, for the channel. It's 375 euros. For a perpetual license. And what is also interesting, you can also get the SOFA file and use it in other applications that support a SOFA file import.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, our Aural ID software is just one of the solutions available.
Right.
There are some others who might have a different flavor. Fair enough. I mean, a lot of kids on that playground, so to speak.
Yeah.
But our SOFA file you can also ingest into other systems.
Would it be compatible with the Sony? Because Sony VMC, I think.
VME. No,
VME?
it's not, because they are working with an own measurement system.
Okay.
So
Yours is a little bit more, I would say, compatible, or a little bit more like out there, the SOFA file.
yeah, well, the SOFA file is just one thing, but I think there's a very clear difference, and I think it's good that you mentioned the Sony solution, the VME, the virtual mixing environment, is actually based on the fact that they capture you as a mix engineer in a space,
True.
in a room, in a studio that you know, which is good, which also makes sense. On the other hand, one thing that is very important to Genelec, and this comes back to the way how we calibrate speakers. What we want to try to reduce room influences as much as possible, to get to the core of the sound. And we work similar way with the Aural ID situation, because a lot of many other situations and solutions put you into a virtual room. I understand this because people also need room response to work. But what we try is we put you in a clear room, in a neutral room without any kind of room influences. That's the approach for Aural ID. So it is very different. And understand, so there are fans of both camps.
It's basically the continuation of your philosophy in binaural / Dolby Atmos.
Correct.
So, Eric, excuse me.
Sorry, also stereo. Binaural doesn't mean that it has to be multi-channel. It can also be binaural stereo. Because one thing, just to add, the process of binauralization has nothing to do with complexity of your reproduction system.
Right.
It could even be mono. But one thing that happens in binauralization is very important. It's actually externalization. Because when you listen on headphones, you have it left and right of you. But what you hear left and right has not been designed with two speakers that are left and right of you. They're actually in front of you.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we do with the binauralization is actually we externalize the sound sources and represent a virtual speaker system. People might have to get used to this. In immersive, it's much easier to tell the story because people are used to binaural situations for immersive. But for stereo, we are so used in listening to a mix that has been built with two speakers in front of us, and we're listening to them with them now next to us, which is by default completely wrong.
So there would be a benefit of using your Aural ID solution for stereo mixing too.
Exactly. Because it makes you, it puts you into the position that you can actually mix anywhere, some way.
Really? Because you can bring that, it's USB-C powered, you put the headphones in, you're in your
There you go.
room, you're in your basically bedroom.
Virtual room,
Wow.
And then you move back to your trusted Genelec loudspeakers and you know where you are. You're in the ballpark. We will never say you can replace monitoring with headphones. That's by default wrong. But
That would not be good for your business neither.
No, it's not. Definitely not. But we're safe with that because we know that we want to give people the chance to monitor accurately, truthful, when they're not in the studio or when they cannot be in the studio.
Right.
Musicians on the road. So, you know it better than me. So many occasions where people need to have headphone monitoring.
Yeah.
But making that as accurate as possible, that's the goal.
Yeah.
So do you think now with all these advancements in monitoring, binauralization, we touched on immersive, and I think we should get, more in depth about immersive. My thing is always like as a consumer, and these two gentlemen here are a lot more techie than I am, more on the business side. But as a consumer, what does this mean for me? Like, do you truthfully believe that with I mean, just talking about the Aural ID and all that, it's incredible. Like no one would think that there's that much effort or emphasis put in to understand the real way that an individual is capturing sound with their own earlobes. I like the way you put it with every little knuckle and everything. And it's true, everyone hears things differently. But do you think as a consumer, we're going to be seeing the impacts of all this advancement of technology? Like even just immersive now, when we talk about AirPods and whatever it may be, immersive is a word that's being used a lot to different people that has different definitions, but we're starting to see it be a little bit more accepted on a consumer level. Where do you think this is going to bring us? What's your opinion on that?
How much time do we have? It's a long topic. No, the thing is, I mean, I'm a big fan of immersive. I mean, I have a long track record in immersive audio. I work in that field since 2012. So I have my own thinking. And when you look at younger generations, they get exposed to immersive audio and immersive video and VR and what have you so early.
XR.
Exactly. Right away. So for them, it is basically the new stereo. You know,
True.
It's becoming a standard for younger generations. So we old men have to keep up with that and still think, oh yeah, stereo was that thing and now it's something new. For many people, it's actually not new. It is their standard and it's becoming their standard. And also when you see
that way.
On the consumer side of things, so many systems are coming up that are playing back immersive content instantly. I mean, look at all the automotive development these days, you know, with Dolby Atmos in car and stuff. I mean, so many brands have embraced this and implemented into cars, which totally makes sense because in my opinion, it's the second best room after the studio. You know, we have clear location, we have clear boundaries, people are not moving around, we know the seats. So you can tailor this and calibrate this very nicely. Every soundbar, every TV, every phone, every smart speaker is capable of playing back
computers now.
Immersive audio content. So I really hope that it's becoming the new standard. I also understand there's a lot of applications where it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's no point to have the 8 o'clock
podcast. I think our podcast in Dolby Atmos wouldn't make sense.
I don't know, Hugo.
That's not true.
Could be pretty.
No. That's not true. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's definitely not true.
Open for debate then.
So the thing is, because podcast, nobody's defining what's the content of the podcast.
True.
You know, and a podcast could actually be a complete like radio drama, a full-blown episode of a science fiction soundscape. Mm-hmm. So podcasts also exist in immersive. So, but yeah, maybe the tech talk, you know, the nerd talk in immersive. I mean,
you're right, because you're right. I have listened to podcasts in Dolby Atmos, and they were more of a drama only.
Yeah, exactly. Now this is more like a news piece, you know, a news broadcast, you know, the 8 o'clock news,
or a comedy, you know, depending on who's
exactly. Yeah. So, but one thing that's also important, why I think people have to really now get on speed with immersive audio, especially in the audio engineering side. And it doesn't matter if it's broadcast, post, or music, is the applications are becoming limitless for immersive audio. As I just said, I mean, every application is using immersive audio. And when you then now look also into live environments, you know, concerts, museums, all kind of, so to speak, immersive experiences, whatever that could be. But all these situations are embracing immersive audio technologies these days crazily. Broadway musical theaters, you know, I mean, the Sphere in Las Vegas, biggest example for an immersive dome, massive. So that's why working today in immersive audio in small scale can lead to many different things in the future, and especially for audio engineers, start learning it now because it's becoming relevant. And the thing is, with the modern times these days, we are so impatient, you know. I say, immersive audio is out for 2 years. Why isn't that the standard and it's been available everywhere? Now imagine how long it took from mono to stereo. Yeah,
true.
And from stereo to immersive, 60 years. So we're good.
We have some time.
We have enough time, you know, but make it right. So we are just, because modern times teach us to be impatient by default, because times are because everything's changing so quickly with social media and everything. Not talking about geopolitics, but you know what I mean. So, hey, we're still good, you know. We're still kind of building the railroad.
Yeah.
So,
but I like what you said about how the newer generation, immersive will be their stereo.
Exactly.
And it's true. And there are instances now that I think back where I'm like, oh yeah, that was immersive. Or that was, and and I think the consumer, from the consumer standpoint, I think people are just not educated about immersive, that they don't even realize that maybe what they're listening to was produced in immersive.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And I think there needs to be like a call out, like this is
and to your point, like we have this, and I'm still on the fence about your thought process behind the new generation with immersive. I have this conversation with these guys all the time. It's a lot of the new generation don't care about home theaters anymore. Watch all their video content. Like Hugo takes the time to look at the sound. I make sure that the podcasts are color corrected and all through the color gamut and Rec 2020 or whatever. And then these guys are either watching it on their Vivid whatever color profile goes on their TV or their mobile phone
on speaker in the metro.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you're looking for a sound bar, people are not looking, they're just going to pick out a sound bar, and whether they like it or not, just like in the most home theater receivers today, even the entry levels now have Dolby Atmos. A lot of people are not looking for a Dolby Atmos thing. I think even some people today from my past life were just like, just give me a 7.1, 5.1. They're like, well, do you realize you're getting a lot more of that with the receiver that you are, and you have the option to switch over from that 5-channel to Atmos. I think that's where I think people will, especially on the soundbar, they will experience it, regardless if they like it or not.
Yeah, or they're not even aware of sometimes.
But that's the thing, they might not even be aware that what they're listening to is immersive.
Yeah.
And how much work went into it.
Exactly.
But does it matter? That's the only, our goal is to create the best possible experience for the end customer. And sometimes it might be interesting to tell them, look, this is what you hear now. But on the other hand, when they're happy with it and continue consuming, job done.
That's a very good perspective as well.
That's why I'm super relaxed with this, and people are very impatient, say, Dolby, do more. We have to tell the world. Yeah, but it's coming in anyway. So if we want it or not, it's like with AI. Nobody asked for it, but it's here.
It's true.
So, it might be very weird.
No, but it's true.
Comparison, but so
you have a very good point.
That's sometimes it's not about, and customers, especially non-trained listeners, so to speak. We are all nerds. We know exactly what we hear, and we want to know what we hear.
Yeah.
That's also our job some way. But a lot of people hear stuff, and they will judge by continuing that episode and skipping this episode. And they will also have it like subconsciously also down to the sound quality. When you hear very bad sound, but you have great picture, then it's
going to be bad anyways.
Exactly. It's going to end with a facet. So people say, yeah, well, it was okay, but they cannot verbalize that it was down to a bad sound.
Yeah.
But when they experience good sound, they can.
Correct.
I think it was great mix and a great sound, and the vocal. I understood the vocals, or the dialogue. This is mainly in TV, the thing. In English language, not so difficult, but German language is like, every Sunday evening there is like, a series episode in German TV, and 2 minutes after the start, the phone rings at the broadcast saying, I can't hear the dialogue. So that's. And this is going to change, and immersive also helps with that. Having interactive possibilities built into next gen audio, NGA, what they call it. Yeah. But so I think I'm super easy with that. So people will judge by watching or skipping,
and people don't know until they know, right? Yeah. Like I tell everyone, until you've heard a pair of Genelec monitors, you don't know what you're missing out. And people who have a trained ear or whatever it may be, or think they have a trained ear, you put them in front of a proper immersive setup, a real immersive setup, or even a proper stereo setup with proper monitors.
Yeah.
People are blown away. Like I have industry friends that, might not be as nerdy or as technical as I am or as we are. And then you put them in front of Genelecs and they're like, wow, I've never heard that song played like that before. And to see that reaction from people, and then you just kind of see the domino effect where it's like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to use those little speakers anymore. Hey, Franco, I think it's time to upgrade my speakers. What can we do? You know, and that's what's important, is about educating people and making them realize, okay, there's better sound out there, because there's speakers and sound everywhere today.
Sure.
You know, from little headphones to little devices, making people realize, look, to your point, appreciate proper speakers, a proper setup. And some people take it for granted, and that's okay because they're not interested in it. But it's amazing to see how far we've come, regardless.
Yeah.
Before we finish, we typically finish with rapid fire questions. We have a couple for you, but I would like to touch on sustainability, because I believe it's something very important for Genelec. It's part of their philosophy. If you can talk a little bit about where sustainability is tied into your processes inside the company
Without it compromising
the rest of the quality.
the truthful.
Yeah, the truthful sound. Actually, sustainability is within Genelec. It's one of the core principles of the foundation of this whole company. The reason why our factory is located where it actually is, so it's not in Helsinki like everybody would assume. In Finland, you go to the capital where you have a big port and a big airport, and then you get your goods out. No, at that time, the founders actually decided to go back where they come from, to give back something also to the people living there, and create a workspace for the local community in an area of Finland that could be considered not really underdeveloped, but it's not the hot spot of the country where the Genelec factory is. So that was number one. Second thing is, sustainability in terms of using resources. So we manufacture all loudspeakers by hand in Finland. Everything is made in Finland. Of course, we do get little kind of electronic components from Far East, but these are very lightweight. So it's not putting a lot of a carbon footprint on the product itself by just bringing them to Finland. So all the enclosures of our loudspeakers, it's die-cast aluminium. And this aluminium is 97% recycled aluminium. So those were drinking cans back in the days. Now one could say, hey, have a beer for your next speakers, but it's not as easy. But anyways, and the supplier of all our kind of enclosures is located a very short distance to the factory. So what we're looking is to kind of have the radius around the factory as short as possible to source components that we cannot build on our own. But on the other hand, we build everything by hand in Finland. So not by hand, but we also have big machines where we do all the PCB boards. We build all the amplifiers. We build a big part of the drivers ourselves. And the ones that we source is actually nearby. It's all Finland. So wooden enclosures of our wooden products, they also might come from Norway or from Sweden, but it's fairly close when you look at how to source actually all these things. And then when you open a Genelec speaker one day, because it's time for the speaker to go and leave, then we have an indication on every component there how to recycle it. So let's say when you have the bass reflex port in the loudspeaker, there is an indicator on it. This is the material, and this is how you should actually recycle it. So you understand. Yeah, that's what we do for many, many, many years.
Wow.
And then, all the processes of logistics, of course, of administration, of production, of R&D, we scan every process that we have on the carbon footprint and the sustainable kind of load or pressure. And next to kind of having how do you call it, heating from the ground, how's it called? Geothermal heating and solar panels. That's the easy thing. But for many people it's not, but for us, it's the easy thing.
That's amazing.
It is. We also have all kind of sustainability certifications that actually are needed, because we truly believe that also for the end customer, it's becoming more and more relevant. In the EU, for instance, there are new rules coming up soon for public broadcasters. They have to understand what are their freelancers actually sourcing, and they have to provide a carbon footprint of their work, and they have to understand what kind of technology are they using. So it's becoming more and more important in the future for people when they choose a certain brand for their task, that they have to scan for these kind of certificates and look out for sustainable measurements. And this is putting us back in a very good position, but not greenwashed, because actually we live and breathe that every day.
Pretty good.
Very impressive.
That is
I didn't know
impressive.
a lot of those things.
No, I would have just chucked the speaker in the garbage.
100%.
Now take the bass reflex port here.
The reason why we don't know is because we never had to open a speaker there.
I was going to say, you never throw out a job.
I know guys who are still using the 11. Is this the 67? Like the wooden box. One of the speaker that made you guys popular.
The 1030, 1031.
1030. Yeah. 1030 and 1031. I have some friends who are still using them in their studio.
We have still systems from 1978 in the market that are working like a charm. And if they break, we can repair it because we have spare parts. Yeah. That's also a sustainable measure, you know. And you will very rarely find Genelec in a trade-in program, because why should we trade in a speaker that is fully functional?
Yeah.
Use it somewhere else, or sell it on eBay, or do whatever you want with that speaker. Just buy new, that's fine. But there's no need to trade in as long as it works.
Right.
So keep it working.
That's really cool.
Funny story, just quick story. I had to actually open up a Genelec speaker once.
Did you?
And it was my fault because I put the speaker in a box while I was moving, and the Phoenix connector that came with the speaker in the box and transport whatever found its way inside the bass reflex pulver.
Yeah, you'll
Long
find it
story.
at the magnet then.
Correct. So I had to open it up and I had to shake it. And I have to say, testament to Genelec, very easy to disassemble and put back together, even with the seal and everything. And I was impressed even with the construction inside the speaker.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't talk about that or even look inside a Genelec speaker, but it was impressive to see the installation and all that. And it was just, anyways.
But we should.
It would happen to me.
Don't do this at home.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do that at
home.
home. Don't do that.
Don't do that at home.
Don't open a Genelec speaker.
No, actually, I did bring it here for full transparency. I brought it here. Omar helped me out. We looked at it. He's like, "Yeah, it's easy. Let's do it."
Do we have time for rapid fire?
Yeah.
You start.
I know. Go for it. Go for it.
You have 2 or 3 questions that needs to be answered by a short answer. So one album or recording you'd like to use to demo Immersive to a skeptic.
My own playlist.
Yeah, but what's on it?
On my playlist are mainly my mixes.
Oh, okay.
Of course. No, many various things. Basically everything from Morten Lindberg.
From who?
Morten Lindberg. No, you know what? Forget it. You take one Canadian production. It's called Immersed by Justin Gray.
Yeah, I know this guy.
There you go.
Very cool.
We'll have to
This guy's from Toronto. He's a teacher at music school, and he mixes in Atmos he's been mixing in Atmos for years.
If only there was an immersive setup already set up somewhere that I could listen to this on.
Yeah.
There's one here.
One immersive trend you think is overrated?
Oh, time's running out. I don't know. Sorry. An immersive trend that is overrated.
That you think is overrated?
I think is overrated. Is immersive video.
That's it. Could be audio, could be video.
Yeah.
And the last one, Franco, do you have it or you want?
Yeah.
Yep.
One room you wish you could redesign.
The Genelec auditorium in our factory.
Good answer. That's funny.
Greetings to Finland. Don't get me wrong, but it's time.
Again, sound is subjective, right? Yeah. Everyone has an opinion on sound, and that's okay.
Well, that was a great episode. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you back, that's for sure. By the way, we are set up. We can do a remote also interview, so you'll be back on it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
We even have Steen in the shadows, but maybe we can have a larger. Again, we didn't even. We have so much to talk.
Yeah,
there's just so much to talk about, and so little time, and time flies by.
And just maybe very quickly, I think it's important to plug what we're doing here, and we spoke about it a little bit. But tomorrow we're doing an immersive training at SFM. Obviously, by the time this episode's up, have already passed. But I think it's important to know to always keep an eye out for some of these trainings that are available through SFM and Genelec. And you guys are doing a world tour, if I'm correct, or you guys are doing multiple locations right now, correct?
Yeah. But ours going to be, the training you're going to give tomorrow is going to be on YouTube, on SFM's YouTube. Probably the 2 sessions, we'll see.
Yeah.
Within weeks, so stay tuned for that too.
Yeah,
amazing.
Exactly. If you couldn't attend, actually, it's going to be our first in-person and live session, which is going to be really interesting. But if you missed it, it'll be on YouTube in a couple of weeks.
And by the way, I'm not sure we should say that. I don't want to jinx anything, but we plan on having a binaural mix on YouTube. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah,
but
we're
going to record a binaural mix of this. So
No problem to do that.
And now, no pressure on Hugo, but this episode better be mixed and immersive.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine, I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine.